Welcome back to another Overwatch Coach VOD review. So today we're going to be reviewing a Silver 2 Lucio player. And they write, I'm getting back into Overwatch 2 this season. I played a lot of Overwatch 1 and played in low plat, high gold during my peak. I'm trying to find my rhythm again, and I'm on quite a losing streak and want to up my game. This is a match that we got. I don't want to spoil this, so I know that we had. I would like some tips on tightening up my gameplay. Right now, Lucio is the only support I feel really good about in comp, but I've been working on my Kiriko accuracy and quick play, and will take her into comp when I'm ready. Here are some of my. Okay, and then he goes into some observations of what he feels like. Some things I'm hoping to improve are my movement positioning and when to use my amp. I would also like feedback on when to use speed, when to heal. And in a different game, I typically have a mix of about 60 heal and 40 speed boosts. That's pretty decent in my opinion, but I mean, it's all situational. All right, well, let's dig into this here and see what we've got. I forgot to load up my pen. Let me get that up. Works. Okay. All right, let's dig into this here. So this is our Lucio. Actually, let's skip ahead to here just until we get your whole team picking.
Ready for battle.
Okay. So now we know the team comp. So, all right. So generally speaking, Lucio's pretty good on Dorado. You need somebody that can contest high ground, can be hard to hit. He might be the support cart guy, you know, to push the cart, which Lucio's not the worst support for that. He's not the best either, but he can be all right. The reason why he's all right is if he's pushing the cart, he puts on speed, he can get to his team, peel for his team relatively quickly. He can shoot from a distance, so he can supply some kind of cover fire that way at times. Possibly interchange between supports. Maybe if it's a Moira, they run out of healing juice, they could teleport back to the cart. Lucio substitutes in for where the Moira is. If there's that kind of coordination, they're always, you know, that sometimes could be asking a lot. And then he supplies the defensive ultimate for like maybe the Torb ult, the Reaper ult, that sort of a thing. But ultimately it's his mobility that makes him worthwhile on Dorado for contesting high ground, in my opinion. So the thing that I'm seeing here is the problem is that there isn't a lot of advantageous opportunity that I'm seeing from your team gaining speed boost, because Junker Queen can do that herself if she doesn't misuse it. Technically speaking, though, you could combo it, double up the speed, be super hard to hit. However, I feel like Junker Queen's going to need a little bit more healing as opposed to the speed boost, but we'll see what happens here. Typically, you want to do speed boost more with the tanks, like obviously Reinhardt is the obvious one. Sometimes Doomfist can be a good one to pair up with that. Trying to think, Zarya could be good for that. Roadhog could be good for that. Junker Queen, in my opinion, not the greatest. Could be worse. Could be a worse hero. Like, I really don't think Orisa gains as much advantage as people might think. Sigma would be another one. Hammond would be another one. Winston would be another one. I kind of put Junker Queen kind of in that category, but that's just me. I don't know. Let's see what we get here. In terms of, you asked about, let's see, when to use amp, when to speed heal, saying they use speed boost too much. So, all right, that's kind of the stuff we'll try to cover the most here. So let's see what we got.
How's that sound there? Here we go. That's not right. This is my favorite part.
Fine with that. So you're not wall riding at all. You should be. You're just a very grounded, very easy to hit person here. Watch it from their side for a second. Let's just pretend we're playing back here. See how you're very easy to hit. Wall ride. Why aren't you wall riding at all? You could be bouncing around from here to here, back to here. You could be getting up to here. When that Sigma pushes in too far, because the Sigma... first of all, the enemy team is like really pushed up for no good reason. So in a case like this, boop him forward into your enemy team, but you can't do that when you're just sitting on the ground. So wall ride, get up here, boop them back. You know, if you're up here, you're still healing your team. You're not going to be in a position to get hit. So if you're playing Lucio, you need to be wall riding and mixing that into your movement like almost at all times.
Deine Pflicht ist nicht getan.
Switching track. Catch these healing waves. Party time, let's go!
So again, you're just sitting on the ground here.
Break up the game.
Did they say if this was console or PC? No, it doesn't say. This feels like it's a console game the way you're aiming.
Rigging the pace.
Engage those hostiles.
Let's get some healing beats going. You want that louder?
So I mean, you're using the cart as a cover, that's fine, especially when you've got a Sigma against a Junker Queen. That's really not a good thing to be going into. Really for this Junker Queen though, so you're like, let's rewind just a little bit here. So you're staying with the cart, right? And then both your DPS are dead. So at this point, push the cart until they contest it, which is right there, and then get out. Like, which is what you do.
Sie werden dich nicht kriegen.
But then you go in again. I don't know what that whole... When you went there, that's fine, because you're playing behind your tank, keeping them healed, whatever. But then you go in, and then you die, because your DPS are dead, and when you go in like that, you're frontlining. So that death is 100% on you, and it's a stagger, because really at this point, they weren't pressing in any further, and you just need to wait for your DPS to respawn, but you don't do that, and now they gotta wait for you. And then your Junker Queen dies right as your DPS spawn. So now your DPS are coming out, and they don't have a tank, and they don't have a healer. Then you're gonna come out, and you're not gonna have a tank. And then your Moira is ulting when her whole team is dead. And now your DPS is dead. And you're just now coming out of spawn. The Sigma's about to ult. The soldier is gonna die. And then you're gonna come out, and then your DPS are gonna be dead again. The Moira is gonna have a completely reset cooldown on her ultimate. And by the time you get out, the tank will still be respawning. And hopefully you or the Moira won't be dead by that point. Do you see how this is just a steamrolling trickle effect, and why regrouping once somebody or a group of people have died, completely pulling out is the way to play this game yet? You getting it? Because this is atrocious. This is bronze level gameplay, and I'm not saying it's totally on you. I'm talking about your team as a whole here. This is completely bronze level, terrible scrub gameplay. Because now your DPS are dead again. Now your Moira is dead, and you and the tank have just respawned. And now you guys are going to come out, and now you have no team again. And now, see, so now you're out here, and they've got no reason to just sit in front of your spawn and just wait for your guys to just trickle out and die. So hopefully now at this point, you guys will regroup here. But this has been like a whole minute of gameplay just sat and wasted. But wait, there's more. What? Now your Junker Queen's going in 1 versus 5. Do they die? They do. What? Why not? Yeah, why not? So now your Junker Queen's dead. You're sitting out here. Yeah, there's really nothing to VOD review when your team plays this sloppy. Like there's really only been one fight to VOD review at this point. So now your Sombra, okay, she's stealth. She's gonna go on a flank mission. Okay, you're speeding your tank back. Let's go back into first person mode here. Okay, so this would have been opportune time to beat drop, but not now because your tank just died. But as soon as you heard your Torb, the enemy Torb ult, you should have beat drop. Torb ult is definitely something worth beat dropping. It is kind of a situational one, but the way this game has been getting played here, I would have just beat dropped that. But yeah, now it's too late. Everybody's dead again.
That's not right.
So I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think it would have mattered what hero you played and how well you would have played it. This is a completely unwinnable game the way your team is playing this. There was nothing to do. Like, seriously, the only way I think you could have won this game or even gotten the first point is if you went Kiriko and you double headshotted the Reaper, and then you double headshotted the Torbjorn, and then you double headshotted the Zen. Like, that's the kind of carry it would have taken for you to have won this game.
Oh, let's break it. Damn!
Okay, that beat drop is not good, though. This is pointless. So, alright, you want to beat drop offensive enemy ultimates. Reaper ult would be a great one if you can time it as such. Reaper's pretty easy to telegraph when he's going to ult because he's just going to basically suicide dive in. And when you see a Reaper like being really aggressive on the pushing forward, you know the ultimate's coming. Especially if you can kind of time the ultimate. Like, okay, he hasn't ulted in like a minute and a half. He probably has it by now or pretty close to it. And then you can just see his positioning and you can tell. When you hear a Torbjorn ult, that might be a good time to Lucio beat drop. Otherwise, like Soldier Genji, maybe a Cassidy High Noon, things like that. Sigma is another great hero to beat drop when he ults. You can do it when you're in the air before you slam down. If you don't get caught in a hammer down, that might be one worth doing. May ult. There's a lot of them that you can counteract with a beat drop. But rarely do I suggest ever beat dropping to push into a team fight. There are situations that's worth doing, like what you just did. I would not have done that unless the timer is really low and you guys like are in desperate need of winning a team fight. That would be a situation to do it. So like when you beat drop the way you just did, like if the timer was at like 5 seconds left and you know, it was use it there or you just don't get any value at all out of it. Okay, that's fine. Do it then. But, yeah, you didn't really get any value off of that beat drop.
There's more of them than us. Behind you.
Yeah, it's getting to the point now where it's like, it's a little surprising that none of your team's really swapping either.
seconds remaining.
I feel like the Junker Queen should have swapped the second she saw she was running Junker Queen into Sigma.
Let's take him to the wasteland.
So that would have been another great opportunity to beat drop, you know, canceling the Reaper ultimate. You're still not wall riding like at all. You need to be way harder to hit. Wall ride, stay up in this vicinity, could be good. Let me get into a better view here. So you could jump up here, wall ride, kind of hang around here. You could be wall riding like this, hovering behind the wall, but poking up above it enough where you could shoot over it. That way when the Reaper ults, you could beat drop and then come around the corner, and if you do it quickly enough, everybody around here will still get the beat drop. Otherwise, you could also go around here and hover around this wall. You could even get up top of here and kind of hang out on the top, and everybody around the edge would be getting your aura. The other thing you could do is you could hop up here, come around here, get up top here, and then be shooting down, finding people to dive like the Zenyatta, something like that if you wanted to be more of a Reddit Lucio. I think you said in your description that you play a Reddit Lucio style game. I'm just going to tell you right now, you do not. You play a very low level grounded Lucio that isn't really doing much of anything. But with that said, there hasn't been much for you to do in this game because of how poorly your team is playing. But for you to be playing a Reddit Lucio, let's rewind just a bit here. Okay. So, as of right now, like right here, for example, you're frontlining. So if you... First of all, you guys shouldn't even be pushing in as of right now because it's like a 2 versus 5 here. So that's mistake number 1. Mistake number 2 is you've got, who is this? Soldier? Soldier is respawning and your Moira is dead. So at this point, you guys need to fully get out. But let's pretend for a second that you've got like 2 other teammates sitting around here. Okay, so let's see. If I'm sitting back here, because this is where you should be in a situation like this. I'm seeing right now the Torbjorn's kind of off on his own, and the Zenyatta is too far forward. So what I would be doing here is assuming the Moira's with you guys, which she's not. So you would, you know, this is under the assumption your team is all in this vicinity here. So, assuming that, I would say the Moira could keep the tank going here, and hopefully your soldier's also playing back and laying down some solid cover fire. He could heal himself a little bit. So, what I would do is go around. If you're playing a Reddit Lucio, this is what you would do. Wall right around here, and now you've got a flank on the Torbjorn, and you might even have a flank on the Zen, depending on where he goes. You also have the opportunity of maybe just going straight for the Reaper. I would go for the Torb, unless the Zenyatta's back here. So let's give this a 3-second playthrough, because that's about how long it would take you to get around here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is about what you would see now, assuming that fight kept going. So you've got the Torb to go after. So if you came around here, and okay, I got Torb. So you're dive bombing from the wall at this point. So you're going to be from around right about here. So if you're coming down from here, you should be able to land headshots on the Torb. Boom, boom, boom. Land a punch and then a boop. And then he's going to be over here. And then as you're coming off the wall, you land another few shots. And then you go into here. And then you would come out and around. And then while you're coming out and around, you would reload. And then as you're coming around here, okay, now you've got the Zenyatta to maybe be messing around with. So as you're coming around, you're on the wall. sticking around here. And as you're on the wall, okay, you got the Zen. You land about 4 shots. Hopefully you can land some headshots on those, some dinks. Land some shots, land a punch, land a boop, come around, and maybe the Torb comes back around here. And, you know, basically, though, you would make a full circle around and then come back to your team. And you just essentially did a double flank. You potentially land some good damage on 2 good flank targets, and you do something, maybe. But instead, you kind of just hang around on the ground, you land some cover fire, and then you die. And then your team dies. Some of this is because your team's just trickling over and over and over again.
60 seconds.
Looks like you guys are gonna actually group up, maybe? Maybe, no. You're just gonna go in 2 versus 5.
Let's take him to the wasteland.
And then, yeah. So, again, okay, now we're at you. You just amped nobody. Nobody's in your aura. You should be on speed right now anyway. Okay, let's rewind this, because you were asking specifically about amps and things like that. So let's... Alright, we'll start here. So first of all, you guys need to wait because your Sombra is dead. So again, if you go in right now, that's extremely sloppy. And this covers everybody, not just you.
Let's get into it.
Your Junker Queen has absolutely no situational awareness about anything that's going on. She just goes and presses W or whatever the controller version of W is, but she's going in 1 versus 5 right now. And then on top of that, your Moira's on a complete flank mission on her own. So this is extremely sloppy on everybody's part. The Moira should be back here. She's not gonna do anything when everybody's sitting back in spawn, essentially. She's just not. So the Moira needs to be back here healing your tank.
30 seconds remaining.
Okay, so first of all, you should be here or here right now, waiting for your team to regroup. This Moira needs to come back around to here. Basically around the tank is where she needs to be. And then you gotta wait for the Sombra to respawn and get into position because she's got EMP, and you guys should be working off of that. The Sombra should throw her translocator up here and then drop down on the enemy team, EMPing, and then you guys push in. That's what you guys should be doing. And then when she does that, you would amp up on speed boost and then push in. The Junker Queen would do her shout to give you guys a boost of HP. You guys got double speed boost, and then you just dive in on the enemy. That's what should be happening here.
Let's get loud.
So what this is, I don't know what you're doing here. You don't need I get that you took a little damage. You could heal that just from heal song. You could wait for the passive from the support to kick in and just heal you that way. But as of right now, you should be keeping your circle. You should be keeping your circle just on the cusp of these two, just because they're starting to push in. So that's what you should be doing right now. That your positioning should be up a little bit. I would like to see you behind cover, but because of the way that your team is playing, keep your circle so that there's people in it. And then amp if you really must. Because your Junker Queen is at half right now, but you just wasted your amp on about like 25 HP of yourself here. Now you're going on a flank mission.
10 seconds remaining.
That's an okay amp. Not the greatest, but it's okay. You're frontlining now. Yeah, you're very easy to hit because of how grounded you are.
Teleporter manifested.
Let's get into a healing rhythm.
So, okay, in a case like this, I don't like seeing people play this far up, even when the enemy team was doing it to you guys, but you have to do it because of how little you actually pushed the cart. It's actually pretty sad how far you guys actually got it, but that's just the truth. That was a pretty minuscule amount of length there. So because you guys have to play this, what I would suggest doing is playing this room and then just kind of trying to hold this choke. It's virtually impossible to actually try to realistically hold this. And frankly, this might, in a situation like this, it's probably best to just let the enemy team push the cart and just go to the next game. It's honestly, in my opinion, not really worth the time to try to hold this cart to that spot. It's, in my opinion, pretty much impossible to do that. It's obviously not impossible, but it's pretty close to impossible. And the reason I say that is because if you have to, if anybody gets picked, you gotta walk all the way back from, I don't even want to go that far back, but all the way back from there. You gotta walk down there, walk through here, walk down here, and then, you know, down here and around and there. That's a very long walk for any character in this game. So if anybody dies, they're basically out of the round, essentially, versus somebody on this team dying and then respawning here, coming out, coming around here, and they're back in the fight. That's why this is basically impossible the second anybody on your team dies. Anyone. Doesn't matter who. It could be you, it could be the sim, it doesn't matter how good your rollout is. The time it'll take you to get back, it's probably already going to be over. And that's why I say in a situation like this, it might just be better to just let them push the cart and go on to the next game. And then on top of that, you don't even have a tank that can eat damage. They're just Junker Queen one-tricking to the detriment of your team.
Guess they aren't done yet.
Yep, she's already dead. So in a case like this, you could try to wall ride around in this vicinity and try to hold the cart and be hard to hit. The sim turrets might help cover you. The Symmetra will help cover you. And then you can also kind of support her through your radius. That's really the only thing you can do here, frankly. It would either be that or try to hold like right in front of the cart and then just hope that the sim turrets will kind of cover you and keep them at bay. It's pretty hopeless, but it's about the only hope you've got here.
Break up the case. Thanks.
You're taking way too much damage. This would constitute feeding. You're taking way too much damage. So play to your cover. If you're wall riding, you're not taking that damage. Or if you're sitting right in front of, basically right here, you wouldn't be taking all this damage and still contesting the cart. But you're really feeding right now because you're just eating damage. And then you're healing it back up just to eat it again. If you were wall riding, you might be able to contest that, maybe. Probably not though, just because it's like the whole team right there.
Louder this time. They've got us outnumbered.
So yeah, and then that's it. So, number one, group up, go as 5. Number 2, wall ride. Let me fix that D. Wall ride. Number 3, alt. I'll say alt defense, alt defensively. So group up and go as 5. We barely saw any of that game. Get on a mic, calm it out, get your team grouped up and go in together. Your team did not do that at all. This felt, let's see, this felt like, okay, it's a Silver 2 game. You guys played like Bronze 5 as a whole, as a group. Especially your tank and your Moira especially, they weren't doing anything. They just were doing their own things. But ultimately, you guys just were not grouping up at all. You weren't really wall riding much. Granted, you barely got into the map, but I showed you some ways that you could have been wall riding and trying to be aggressive. You said that you think you play a Reddit-style Lucio. That example of how you could have been flanking around, that is more of a Reddit style Lucio. What I saw from you, that doesn't quantify Reddit at all. And then alt defensively, so use Lucio beat drops to counteract offensive ultimates from the enemy team. Those would be the 3 biggest things that I saw from the way that game played out. Ultimately, though, I don't actually think this was a good example of a game to be VOD reviewed because of how sloppy it is. But maybe all of your games are kind of played like this. And if that's the case, the only thing I can really think of to truly give you advice is to be getting on a microphone and trying to be like a team leader, like a team general, and bark out orders, getting your team to play around you. Because if you're going to be playing Lucio, your team has to kind of play around you to get value out of you. So if you're often finding your team's kind of off doing their own thing, kind of like in that game, then you got to start playing other heroes. Because if you're one tricking a hero and you're finding that you're not really climbing, then there's 2 things going on. 1, you're not good enough on the hero to one trick it enough to climb. But then 2, you're not giving your team the support that they need to win the game. In a case like this, I honestly feel like it was a little bit of both, because there definitely was more you could have been doing, but I don't know if it would have been enough anyway, just based on what I saw from like your Junker Queen and your Moira. For you to be kind of going off on those flanks, you would have had to have picked off the Torb or the Zen or both to really be able to have carried that game in the example I gave of how you could have been flanking. And I don't know that you would have been able to do that because of how little pressure your team was really giving the enemy team. So in a case like that, then you got to play more with your team to allow them to do a little bit more. So then it kind of turns into a target priority, and how good are you at being able to do damage while staying with some of your team and also not taking damage. And you weren't doing any of that. You were just kind of standing on the ground and being easy to hit. So that's where the wall riding thing comes in at. So I hope that was helpful. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.